recorded. Right. I think I have already started recording the session. Okay, cool. Yeah. So this morning we're going to introduce our first chapter of the semester. According to our learning guide. And even based on the learning guide, we were supposed to introduce the chapter on Monday. Was it on Monday? No, on Tuesday, where we met yesterday. But nevertheless, we still have enough time. It's the first week, so we just need to try to slow down and wait for the latecomers to join us. All right, so today we're going to have a quick look at chapter 8, introduce the chapter, and then we can stop a certain level or a certain point. Okay, in regard to, I mean, it came to my attention yesterday that there might be a clash between the OPM test, so our test, and the organizational effectiveness test. That is with Dr. Judith Nkuna. So I spoke to her yesterday to double check a test date and then address you guys accordingly. So she's going to double check. I'm sure the next time that you guys going to meet her, she would be able to give you guys some update on that. But currently, the test that you guys will be writing on the 25th of September, I think that is the date, if I'm not mistaken, is the OPS one. So for now, OPS is not changing anything. Right, but she will keep you guys posted anyway, based on that. But it's always good to, double check like what you guys did yesterday, if there are any clashes so that we can address those issues now, not when a lecturer has already booked the venue and then you guys now need to bring those kind of issues in terms of changing on terms of clashes and all that. All right, so what I'm going to do now, I'm going to share my screen. And obviously, while my screen is being shared, if you have a question or you want to contribute, please, you should unmute yourself and interject straight away or interrupt me straight away. Because if you raise up your hand, I probably won't be able to see that. All right. Let me put in a presentation mode. All right, so today we're gonna talk about location strategies, right? So this is our opening chapter of the semester. And there are some strategies that we are going to learn in this chapter. So there are some calculations we are going to undertake in order to understand the principles of a company expanding its business activities to a new location. As you guys know, the world is expanding, the market is expanding, right? So companies are looking forward to get a grip on the market share worldwide. All right. So when we are talking about location strategies here, we are basically talking about a company expanding its footprint, right? Could be worldwide, locally, right, or nationally. but it's mostly a company coming from another company, another country, and expanding its business activities to a new country or a new location. But still, you can talk about location strategy within the same country or the company's home country, right? So that is what you need to have in mind when we are talking about location strategies. So moving from an existing location to a new one. All right. So in this um chapter, we are going to talk about the factor rating method, right? The locational break-even analysis, center of gravity, and the transportation model. So we'll see, especially in regard to the transportation model, we'll see whether we'll touch base on that or not, depending on our progress, and it will also depending on whether this is going to come in the assessment or not. Um, guys, please make sure that your mics are all switched off. Unless you want to say something, you can unmute yourself. So this is what or I expect you guys to be able to do once we have concluded this chapter. So you should be able to identify and explain 7 major factors that affect location decisions. You should be able to apply the factor rating method, complete a locational break-even analysis graphically and mathematically. So this shows that there are a kind of calculations here that we are going to do. So you just need to be aware of that. Number 4 says that you should be able to use the center of gravity method, right, in order to identify the appropriate location for your business or for any given business when it comes to expanding. Number 5, say that you should be able to use the load distance analysis. So load distance analysis here is related to the transportation model that I told you that we'll see whether we're going to significantly touch base on it or we will not if it's not coming in the test. Please ensure that your mic is off because there are kind of interferences that are coming from your side. From your side to my side. Thank you. All right. So what is a location strategy? So we have a classical definition here says that the location, I mean, what is the objective of a location strategy? Sorry. You say the objective of a location strategy is to maximize the benefit of a location to the firm. So when a business decides to expand its footprint beyond its home country, it also need to double check whether that decision is going to be profitable to the business, because it's not only expanding the business or opening another branch, elsewhere, but it must be beneficial to the organization. Otherwise, it's going to be like a waste of time and the company can go bankruptcy based on that. So also, what you need to understand here is that these are not the decisions that are taken overnight. This could take more than 3 years or more than 5 years. So depending on the company's objectives and also the sector of activities, right? Because it's like a market research whereby they need to gather all the necessary information in order for a business now to open a branch in the identify new location, right? So the objective here is for that new location to be profitable to the organization. Right. Guys, some of you are not disturbing. Let's identify. This is Angel Makari. Angel, you are not paying attention. I'm sure you are doing something else. Okay, let me see if I can exclude you from this session. I really wanted to exclude you definitely, not spotlight for everyone. It's like when you are in class and then you are making noise and then I say no, go out. Yeah, that's what I wanted to do, but that option, I don't know where it is. All right. So yeah, so basically that is the objective of a location strategy, right? What I was explaining there. So now what we need to understand here is that when you are running a business and you have reached a certain level of your activities whereby you feel you need to go beyond or you need to go outside of your home location, right? Or home country. So there are factors that you as the owner of the business or as an operations manager that you need to take into account before even considering the option of expanding. And these are what you call the key success factors. And key success factors, they are classified in three, or they have three levels, right? So you have key success factors at a country level. Like let's say you are running a business here in South Africa and then you want to expand to another country in Africa, in Asia, in America or in South America, all those countries or locations. So you need to take into account the the factors, right, that are going to enable you to make a decision at a country level. And these are what you call key success factors at a country level. And the other level will be what you call at the regional level, right? So that could be a province whereby you feel like um, what you need, probably based on the raw materials and all that, that is what is going to direct you to choose the province that you can establish your business there or one of the branches of your business. And at a site level, that is the lowest level, that's called at a site level. So all these levels, they have what we call key success factors. So starting with the country, the decision at the level of the country, the key success factors, they are listed here, but these are not all, just a few that are listed here. So if a country is going through, let's say we are running our business here and then we want to expand probably to another country in Africa, right? We're not going to, for example, currently I think there is war in Sudan. Is it South Sudan or Sudan? Yeah, there is war going on there. So you can see there is some kind of political instabilities there. So the environment is not attractive for business because there is war, When there is war, it's quite impossible to undertake business activities, right? So you can see if you check that factor, you will never be able to expand your company's activities to uh, Sudan, for instance, because there is war. And the same applies to other country or regions that are going through war. For instance, in Gaza, for instance, you will never expand your business activity to Palestine or Gaza because there is war going on there, right? So these are the critical factors that you need to take into account. And you also have cultural and economic issue. So if a country is going through, some kind of instability related to its economy, that is also a factor that you as a business, you need to take into account when it's coming to expand your business footprint. Location of market. This is also critical, right? Where the materials are produced and where the materials, the product are produced and where they can be delivered to customers, right? So all this need to be taken into account. You also have employee talent, so labor talent, their attitude, and how do they work, right? And also the cost of employing uh, 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 um, the people in your organization. So all these need to be taken into account. You have availability of supplies, right? Are you gonna get energy? Are you gonna get power, right? And this is where you see this issue of load shedding comes in, whereby some businesses will be significantly impacted, right, by load shedding, for instance. So that speaks to the lack of availability of energy. So exchange rate and currency risks. So some countries, they don't have, currencies that are the currency that is stable. And that could also be something that you as the owner of the business or as an operations manager, you need really to take into account, because the money that you save in that country, probably after a certain period, that money can be eaten by inflation, right? So you need to check that before making a decision to choose a country whereby you can expand your business operations to. So these are a few highlighted critical key success factors at the country level. So moving along to the regional level, or what they also call here community decision or community level. And I usually call it at a provincial, level. Um, if you have to relate this case to our own country here in South Africa, so you are going to focus on the provinces that we currently have. So let's say a company is coming from the US and want to come and invest here in South Africa, or open a branch in South Africa in order for it to operate. Is going to in Africa is going to choose South Africa first based on certain key success factors, right? So once the country has been chosen, so South African has been chosen, in this case, now they are going to check or evaluate um, amongst the 9 provinces, which one the country, which province the business will go with, so that they can establish their business activities there. So this is what you call key success factors at a provincial level, if you want to make it like that, so that we can understand, right? So here we're now going to talk about the corporate desires. So this is the mechanisms that are put in place in order to attract investment, right? So you have the attractiveness of the region, you have labor availability and cost and availability of utilities, right? So how much, for instance, electricity cost for a business to establish, for instance, here in Gauteng. right? How much will that cost if a business decides to go and establish its business operations in Mpumalanga and Cape Town? No, you can name those provinces. So environmental regulations are also important, because if you are running a business and then you don't take care of, or you don't take into account environmental regulations, you might find yourself in a very tough positions whereby you won't be able to operate, because there are regulations in place that you need to follow closely. Say government incentives and fiscal policies. So this is the policies that the government has put in place in order perhaps to promote new business establishments, right? Proximity to raw materials and customers, right? Because the size of the market is also important. Even the size of the province, right, in terms of its population is also important, and also the availability of raw materials that the company will make use of, right, also important. Land and construction cost. So in terms of buying a plot for a new business and build a factory, how much is that going to cost in order for the business to acquire the land, right? And then start building. How much is that going to cost? So this also gives us, a clue that this is not something that you can do in 1 day or 2 days or in 1 week, right? So this takes a very long time, right? Until the company is convinced that this specific province will yield beneficial returns, right? So moving along to the site level. Remember, I spoke about the key success factors at a country level, at a provincial level or community level. And now this is not the last level, right? At a site level. So here we are talking about the site size and cost, right? So again, could also be related to the land that need to be bought and then the construction that can take place. And then it's also going to speak to the access to the market. Again, the kind of infrastructure, right, that is built in order for a company perhaps to manufacture its product and then shift them to the customer, right? Is it going to use the aeroplanes? Is it going to use the rail in order to, or the trains in order to move, right? The produce a product, right, from the manufacturing plant to the market, right? It could be shifting also to overseas, right? So in terms of regulations also at a site level, this is important. I don't know if you guys have heard recently that, I don't know if it's Shell or Total that was given an approval to exploit or to, yeah, to how do you call it, to extract crude oil from one of the provinces. I don't remember the provinces exactly, right? And before even the government giving Shell or Total, I think it's Shell or Total, I don't know, I don't remember exactly. It was quite a battle because some activists are saying that if this company decide to extract crude oil from this location, this province, is going to be a problem because that is going to impact the environment, right? So the government also needed to, be careful there in terms of also balancing the risks, right? Obviously, the government needs, some kind of money, but there is also some kind of restriction in terms of polluting the environment and water. And that is also going to have an impact on people living around the area where the crude oil will be extracted from the ground or from the sea or whatever, right? So again, that speaks to the kind of environmental impact that are going to be felt by probably the community living around there, right? Because if the water is polluted, that could be a very big issue. And at a set level also, you can speak of some of the strategies put in place by the government in terms of attracting the investors. That's what you call the special economic zones, right? So these are the zones whereby um, companies are, uh, how can I put it? Company operating in these zones, they don't pay customs, they don't pay high taxes and all those things, right? So the reason why government they do this just to promote, investors from outside, even within the country, to come and do business. You have such area or zones as the OR Tambo International Airport around that zone, right? It's also easy for companies to shift their product from South Africa to another country around the world, right? And there are many special economic zone like that in South Africa here, right? If you go on Google and then you type South Africa special economic zones, you're gonna have that list published by the government, and you'll have an idea of what I'm talking about. Right. Are we all on the same page? Can you guys still hear me? My beautiful people, can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, sir.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Thank you. So, yeah, we always need to double check whether we are still on the same page or not. Because, these online classes, sometimes I may find myself just talking to myself. Probably you guys are not online. You can also hear. But anyway, if it's breaking or there is something going on there, please you should let me know, right? All right, so um just to give you a summary of these key success factors, is these are not all the key success factors, right? So what you need to understand here is that there are three levels, right, of key success factors. So you have key success factors at the country level, right? Key success factors at a provincial level, if you want to put it that way, and also key success factors at the site level. So the reason for us to review these key success factors is that we are going to perform some analysis. So we're going to do some calculations in order to determine a location for a given business that is going to yield beneficial returns. So that's why we need to understand this first before we move on to the calculations. And this is important because if you don't understand this, the market analysis that you're going to do is not going to make sense even to yourself because you don't know what are the factors that you need to consider in order to proceed with your analysis, right? And usually when the companies are involved in this analysis, it requires a lot of money. It requires a lot of traveling and all that. So that means if you are the one involved, right, in performing this kind of analysis, you have to know your story and you have to know what you are doing so that the result or the outcome of your analysis can be verified and then validated, right? So proximity to market, we have already spoken about it, right? So this is how companies can interact with customers, right? And we have this concept of just in time. They say just in time system or high transportation costs may make it important to manufacturers. So JIT is the acronyms for just in time. This is another concept on its own. All right, but we're going to see this concept in chapter 16, where we're going to break it down. So this concept usually speaks to the manner or a strategy in which a company, or for instance operating in the manufacturing industry, it has to um received it has to receive raw materials from a supplier at the right time in small quantity, so that when the raw materials are received, automatically or straight away they are put into production. And this also allow the manufacturing company to reduce the inventory. But anyway, we're going to break down this um, concept in chapter 16, because it's another chapter. So we'll have the opportunity to talk a lot about this. So when we are talking about proximity to market, so you need to check whether a company operating in the service sector, for instance, let's say FNB or APSA, all these banks. Guys, please make sure that your mics are off. So you can see proximity to market to a company operating in the service sector is quite critical, because these companies such as banks, they have to, interact with customers on a daily basis. So their location, right, is important. All right. Because you can't have a bank and you go and locate yourself in a place where there are no customers, right? How are you going to interact, or how are you going to provide services to your potential customers? All right. And speaking to proximity to suppliers, right? So this is also important for a company acquiring raw materials from its suppliers. Location is important, right? So you have to determine whether to locate yourself close to your suppliers, or you're going to diversify the kind of suppliers that you are going to deal with. So these are the things that the company need to reflect on and see which option to go with, depending on the industry that the company is operating in, and also the company's objectives, right? Now, proximity to competitors. So this shows that companies decide to be close to each other, right? Or to operate in a close vicinity with its competitors. So a quick example of this, just to put it into perspective, is that if you go, for instance, to I don't know, you go to Braamfontein, for instance, for those who are familiar with the area, Braamfontein or Campus Square, you find out that um, where you will find FNB, in the close range, you will also find the other banks like Absa, Standard Bank, all those banks. So obviously they are competitors, right? They are competitors, but you find them that they are close to each other. Why? Because that is an area whereby there is a higher concentration of the customers, right? So they tend to be close to each other, because they know that that area, there are a lot of customers there. So that is a resource. Now, you can also be talking about an area, right, that has natural resources. And obviously, in that area or those areas, you will find companies that are competing amongst each other or with each other, and they are in close range because natural resources are found there, right? So this is really important. And you find out that if a company is coming from another country in Africa and want to come um, and probably enter the extraction of coal here in South Africa. So we all know that Mpumalanga is well known for its coal production, right, or extraction. So if a company is coming from outside of South Africa, or even within South Africa here and want to operate, probably want to open it, you'll find that that company will be mostly right motivated to go and establish its footprint in Pumalanga because it might be quite easy to get hold of coal, and the extraction also is done there. So you'll find all those companies right involved in the extraction of coal right there, and that's what you call proximity to competitors. And the other concept that you also bring on board with this proximity to competitors is what we call the clustering. You see, clustering, where we have companies that are operating in the same industry and they are competitors and they are in close range. This is what you call clustering, right? This is what you call clustering. So that is another concept that you can speak about when you are talking about proximity to competitors, because you have competitors in close range. And there's also there are many examples that you guys can bring on board in order to illustrate this concept. For instance, if you see where KFC is, um in a close range, not far away, maybe in less than 2 kilometers, radiant, you will find McDonald's there. So these are competing businesses, and you find that they are in close vicinity with each other, and this is what you call clustering. Right. So if you want to expand this, these are some of the examples just to explain the concept of clustering. I have already spoken about fast food, so the like of McDonald's, KFC. You may also speak about Burger King and the like, right? So now around the world, if you are talking about technology, you really want to, go into technology. Silicon Valley in the US is one of the areas whereby, technology is advancing and you are able to find the skills that you probably need for your business right there, right? So this is also what you call clustering. So there are many um, technologically driven business, located in Silicon Valley. All right. So that is what you call clustering. And if you have to talk about the wine industry, in France, for instance, there is a region called Bordeaux. So Bordeaux is a region whereby there are a lot of companies there that are operating in the wine industry located there because the climate and the land, is quite good in terms of doing agricultural activities related to the wine production. Right. So these are, good concepts to understand before we move on to real calculations. So you remember from the intro from the learning outcome of the chapter. We say that there are strategies, right, or analysis principles that you are going to undertake, right? Or talk about in order to perform some calculations in order to choose which location is probably suitable for a business and which one is not, right? So now the first um, strategy, right, or model or method that we are going to talk about is what you call the factor rating method or the factor rating analysis. They say popular because a wide variety of factors can be included in the analysis. So when we are saying factors here, we are referring to the key success factors that need to be taken into account. And I told you that the list that are provided there, or that is provided, was provided in the slide, is not exhaustive, right? So that was just to give you a glimpse of what you need to focus on, but you can still populate that list, right? Based on your location that you are targeting. So now there are steps, right, to help us to conduct this analysis. So there are 6 steps, but at your level, you're not going to bother too much about coming up with your own key success factors. I'm gonna provide you with the key success factors. So whereby you need to focus more is from number 4. So number 1 says develop a list of relevant factors called key success factors. That's the one that you were talking about there, key success factors. So you're not at your level, you're not going to develop that list, but these are the generic, steps that you have to follow. But at your level, you're not going to develop, you'll be provided with them. Number 2, say assign a weight to each factor. So again, at your level, you're not going to assign a weight. This is when you are probably doing your 3rd year, and those who are going to, when you'll be doing your 3rd year, that is where you'll be exposed to this exercise of coming up with your own weights, and then you proceed with the analysis. So at your level, the weight will be provided. Number 3 says develop a scale for each factor. So again, you're not at your level, you're not going to develop a scale. The scale will be provided. What you need to do is not just to do the calculation. So number 4 says score each location for each factor. So again, the scores at your level will be provided. And the from number 5, that is where this is applicable to you. So basically you'll be just focusing on doing calculations. So multiply score by weight for each factor for each location, and most importantly, recommend the location with the highest point score. So this is your conclusion, right? Your conclusion. But don't worry about the steps. We're going to have an example based on this so that you guys can understand what's going on here. So what is mostly important here is not the most important step, but it's like the conclusion, how you're going to conclude your analysis. So number 6, recommend the location with the highest point score. So you're going to choose, let's say you have 2 to 3 locations that the company need to choose from, right? Based on your analysis, you're going to provide the scores or the score for each location. So now you will choose the location with the highest score, and that will be the location that will yield, beneficial returns on investment. So let's look at this example here from the slide. And I also prepared an example there, or let's say an activity that you guys going to do that on your own. So after this session, and by the way, this is going to be our last slide for today. We don't want to force too much, right? So let's look at this example just to illustrate the factor rating method or analysis. So on your left hand side, you have key success factors, right? Labor availability and attitude, people to car ratio, right? So this is the transportation means, per capita income, right? In terms of the money that employees received, how wealthy they are, tax structure, education, and health. So these are the key success factors based on this specific scenario. And next to let me just take the pointer here. Uh, take the laser. So next to the key success factors, you have the weight. So the weight are provided. So the same thing also applies to you guys who will be provided with the weight, right? So here you have 0.25 for labor. People to car ratio is 0.05, per capita income 0.10, tax structure 0.39, and education is 0.21. So the sum of the weight should give you 1. All right. So these are the weights. And now there are scores out of 100. So as I said, you're not gonna come up with your scores. You'll be provided with the scores because this requires a bit of research. Because in order for you to come up with this scores, you need to check um, one of the indicators that you can check is the Transparency International to check the level of corruption of a country. And also, there is another website that classified the most competitive countries in terms of the economic development. Right, so all that need to be taken into account in order now to come up with the appropriate scores for this. So again, at your level, you're not gonna come up with these scores. You will be provided with the scores. So what you need to do now is just to focus on this area here, whereby you just need to do the calculations. And if you go back to the the steps, I told you that your task will start from 5 to 6. So multiply score by weight for each factor, for each location. Recommend the location with the so this is what you'll be doing. Unless if a question, for instance, asks you to now uh, permit or try to make some changes here or specific changes on the weight of each key success factor, right? So that could come, but there is another scenario, that can come in a test or in a specific problem. All right, so now you have this scores here, right? They are provided. So what you need to do here, you're gonna take, if you have to focus on labor availability and attitude, and let's focus on France, because what you do with France here will also the same thing for Denmark, because this country, this company want to choose the best location here, France or Denmark, but it cannot just choose like that. So it has to perform some kind of analysis based on the factor rating method. So here we have 0.25 times 70. So 0.25 times 70, that's what you have here between bracket. And that gives us 17.5. So you do the same thing for people to car ratio. So that is 0.05 times 50. That gives us 2.5. And 0.10 times 85, that gives us 8.5, up to the last value here, which is coming from education and health. So you have this one here. Now, what you do here after completing this calculations here, what you need to do now just to sum up everything, find the sum of all these values here. And if you sum up everything, that will give us 70.4, right? So this is the total or the weighted total of France, or weighted scores, if you want to appropriately call it that way. So 70.4. So obviously, we assume that we don't know the weighted score for Denmark. So you have to proceed the same way, right, as you did for France. So here again, if you take 0.25 times 60, that's what you have here. That will give us 15. So you do the same thing for other factors under Denmark, and you sum up, that will give us 68.0. Right. So this is the total for Denmark, or the weighted total for Denmark. And this one is the weighted total for, or the weighted score for France. So we have these two values here. Two values here. Now, the last step was telling us that, or is telling us that, let me quickly go back there. Number 6 says that recommend the location with the highest point score. So based on this analysis here, when you're comparing these two values here, 70.4 is the highest value here, right? Is the highest value here. So in this case, France is the chosen location because there is a potential of this country to yield beneficial returns on investment, unlike Denmark in this case. So once you have done that, that is your conclusion, and that means you have undertaken the factor rating analysis. And this is what you're supposed to do, whatever the question that will come your way. And the other thing that you need to be aware of is that usually with the weight here, we can play around. A question might tell you, okay, try to exchange, right, the weight of people to car ratio and with this one here, labor availability. So you need to play around with this. So take this one comes here, 0.25 will come here, and then you perform the analysis again. If you're still gonna come up with the same conclusion, whereby France is the best location. Right. So what I'm gonna do now, I'm gonna give you guys an exercise that I would like you guys to try. Is this one here. Um, but it's a take home exercise, not like you're gonna do it here. I would suggest that you guys take even screenshot or whatever that you can, take a picture and try this question, and I believe we will have time to go through it. So yeah, this is your exercise just to put in practice the factor rating analysis, right? So in doing so, if there is something that you are not sure of or you don't feel comfortable with, you can still come back to me and then you can discuss. Or when we're going to meet on when is it, on Tuesday? Yeah, we can quickly have a look at this and then we'll move on. Right, ladies and gentlemen, I think this is what I needed to take you through. If you guys have questions, we still have enough time. We can quickly answer a few questions and then we close the session. If there are also no questions, please feel free to let me know. So this silence means that there are no questions. All right. So, guys, I will see you. I will see you on Tuesday next week, or I will see you when I see you. Yeah, I'm gonna stop the recording now, and yeah, enjoy the rest of your day.